Hi, Facebook. Everybody at YourTango, hopefully you're starting to see me. Let's see if I see anybody come on and say hello. Maybe somebody I know can tell me that they're saying, oh, I see one person. There's one person watching. Thank you. Hi, nice to meet you. Hi, my name is Arianna Jeret, and I'm one of the editors at YourTango, along with Becca and Joanna, who you guys are more used to seeing. Hi, hey, Sarah and Golden Eye Tiger. That's a really cool name. I have a tiger on my shirt. I think it's a tiger. It might be some other kind of a big cat animal. I can't call you because I'm doing a show right now, GoldenEye, but maybe another time. But I am here to talk with you guys tonight about anything related to sex, kink, love, relationships. My background, just so you know a little bit, I have a master's in social work, but this is not at all a therapy session. It's just let's chat and talk about the stuff that you don't normally get to or you've been curious about for a long time. I'm really lucky I get to work as an editor with some of the most amazing therapists and sex educators around. So I get to learn new stuff every day. It's an ongoing process. And what I really, really love in particular about talking about kink and learning about kink is it's such an interesting mix of these things that you wouldn't think go together, like this really, really primal part of humanity and sexuality, and then also this tremendously honest communication, because you can't take part in kink and that kind of a sexual relationship if you're not going to be completely honest with each other. And one of the things that people tend to know about when they talk about kink from, 50 Shades of Grey and just the general talk out there is safe words, and the fact that you have to have this thing at the beginning set up where you have a word that you can say in order to say safe. So I actually made a safe word for Facebook Live, which is going to be avocado. So if there are any questions that, I don't feel like are within my boundaries for answering, I can say avocado. And hopefully I won't have to, because we'll just be really honest and ongoing. So Kim has a question. She says, big question. Oh, and thank you. Is that my your kinks to a new partner? Well, so first of all, in order to bring up any kinks that you're interested in to your partner, you have to really have a sense of what those are, or, what your interests might be. And if it's something that you have or haven't tried before, hopefully if you're with a partner who you're already getting that intimate with, that you're having sex with them, you should be having hopefully those kinds of conversations anyway. And I think the really important, did I spit or swallow, is an avocado question. So, but really it doesn't have to be this like big, heavy conversation. I think you just, keep it really light and fun. And I think that it's kind of fun to say, hey, I had this dream the other night that I wasn't expecting, and in my dream, you were there. And what guy isn't going to love knowing that you had, or if it's a girl who you want to know that the person who you're with is dreaming about you. That's like so exciting. And if you can say, in my dream, you grabbed me by the hair and pushed me up against a wall. And then you took out some rope and tied up my hands. And it seems like it should be really scary, but it was so exciting. And wow, I think maybe I want to try that. Is that something you would try? Are you interested in it? And you guys can have a conversation going off of that. And I also think it's really important when you first, hi Jackie, when you first are starting one of those conversations to say, I want to share something with you and I just want to make sure that I can say something, anything, and that you're not going to judge me because this is just a weird thing that I'm thinking about too. And I just want to be able to share with you. And then I want to hear what you're going to say. So you sort of establish up front that you're going to have that safe space to talk about it. So Kim also asked if some men, she said, some men are super uncomfortable being dominant. Yeah, it's sort of interesting because I think a lot of people have this perception of BDSM, S&M, whatever you have been thinking of calling it, rough sex, kink, fetishes, as it being sort of very dark and very male dominated, and like guys are just in there to be really angry and mean and sort of abusive. And what I've found to be true is that really men are in an incredibly vulnerable space when they have, even more so than women in some ways, when that's something they want to explore with their partner. Because in today's society, we're constantly saying to guys, be nice, be gentle, don't hurt her, don't, you always have to have her consent, you always have to be talking, you don't want to come across as a, this mean, angry brute. And so for some guys, when they have that natural impulse to grab a woman by the throat, that can feel really scary to the guys. Like, what's wrong with me? Like, am I such an asshole that I want to do that to her? And she might be sitting there saying, like, oh my God, like, why doesn't he just grab me by the throat? Like, I'm dying. I just want somebody to, like, grab me right there. And so then you have these two people who are sitting there and they're not getting what both of them really want because we're trying to behave instead of trying to just be natural and have fun and do what comes naturally for us. So I think it's really important, especially for a woman starting off that conversation, to saying, I really would love for you to do that. If that's something that you would like to do, I would love it. And it's interesting. I've had conversations with guys who are dominant, who've said that when they, grab a woman by the neck, unless it's a woman who's been abused in the past, that the vast majority of women will just melt. So that's a little trick for you guys out there. Like, if you just, not, like strangling her, but if you just kind of get her right there, by the throat, as long as you know that she's never been abused and you're comfortable with each other. It's not necessarily a first date thing. But that can be so incredibly passionate and exactly what she wants, and just keep the conversation going. So somebody else before had said, what about a lap dance? And it was kind of an non-specific lap dance question, but we just had an article on YourTango the other day with these really great instructions for giving a lap dance. And it's something that it could feel really kind of cheesy or like weird, like especially if you're not somebody who is really comfortable necessarily with your body, to get up in front of your guy and do something like that. But I think that it's the same kind of a thing. Like, if you look at everything related to sex as fun, and that you guys are both willing at any point in time. I think this is the big thing with kink, with sex, with love, with relationships. If at any point in time you're both willing to just stop and look at each other and laugh, then there's nothing to really be scared of. Because you're just going to go and have a good time. And as long as you're communicating, then you're all good. So we have some other anonymous questions that people asked. So I'm going to take a look at some of the anonymous questions and answer some of those. And again, for anybody who's jumping in, because I see people keep, coming in and going in, I'm Arianna Jeret, and I'm one of the editors at YourTango, and I am answering any questions that you have about love, sex, kink, fetishes, anything along those lines. And I see Kim just dropped in a link to one of our articles on how to give a lap dance. So there you go for the lap dancers, or the people who'd love to try it. Something I need to give a try. Hi, hello to Houston. Hello to everybody. Okay, so let's see. So I'm going to read one of these questions. Okay, so I give oral sex to my boyfriend often, but my boyfriend is disgusted with the idea of giving oral sex to me. What can I do to get him to give me oral sex? So that's something that unfortunately I hear a lot of when I'm talking with women friends and just women that I've met over time, is that guys seem to not necessarily see the oral sex thing as a two-way street, which is pretty much a bummer because it's one of the best things out there in the world that you can experience. I know as a female, and I'm assuming for a male too. And I'm not really sure where that comes from for so many guys. But, the way that this question is phrased, what can I do to get him to give me oral? I don't think you can get anybody, or that you should get anybody to give you anything as far as a sexual nature is concerned. I really feel very strongly that we don't talk enough with people from a young age about the fact that sexual compatibility is such an important component of relationships, of any romantic relationship. And so when we talk about what you need to look for when you're going to get married, we talk about religion, and we talk about politics, and we talk about money, and we talk about all these other things, and we don't talk about sex and whether or not you guys are compatible in that area. So, Gina said, well, first of all, hello to Bethlehem and hello to Florida and Canada. But, Jean says, tell him you want to take charge. Well, sure. So the next thing I was going to say was communicate and ask him about it. Say, and again, I wouldn't do it. You don't do it in an accusing way or a complaining way. But if you say more of God, I was really thinking the other day when we were having sex that you were about to go there, and it would have been so amazing. I was so excited, and I would love it if you wanted to try that. Or I'd love it if you try it more. And if he sort of hesitates, you can say, is there something that bothers you about it? And, maybe he has an issue with, grooming down there. I know it's just a really big thing these days. I think we just had another article where the statistic was something like 80% of guys, I think it's a deal breaker if a woman isn't groomed the way that he wants her to be down there. I think it was if you're not completely bald, but I'm not sure if it was that specific. But that's one of those things that, everything's a give and take, and you can have a conversation. Maybe he wants it to be full bush, down there. I don't know. Who knows? So, it's really just something to talk about. And I think that if you talk about it and he's still resistant and he doesn't want to, and he's not going to, and he tells you it's uncomfortable for whatever reason, then you make a decision about whether or not that's something that's that important to you, or is this something that kind of carries over across your relationship where it's kind of a one-sided deal all around, I think that's one thing that you really have to take a look at in general in any conversation that you're going to have about sex. If you're having trouble coming to compromises in the bedroom, is it just related to sex, or is it everything else? So Jean and Tyler seem to be fans. Oh, well, Jean's a fan. Jean says he loves it. Tyler says it's salty and it's better in the shower. I really can't speak to that, but let's see. And then Jennifer said, talk about it, and if you both agree to try it, then agree to, and if you don't like it, you don't ever do it again and try something else. Always start off with small stuff first. Simple really with the right person. Well, that's my point, is really it is simple with the right person, Oh, Joanna likes my bookshelf. Thank you. It's one of the few remainders from my married days. But, so it's the kind of thing where if you're just not compatible, then you need to know that you're not. So yeah, I would say definitely try. I actually do think, Jean, I think there are times to say never, say never. I think there are times to say, you know what, he has said never, right? It's like the same way that we as women, if we say no, if there's a woman who has trouble, there's another question about gag reflex that I'll get to. Let's say a woman has a really sensitive gag reflex and she's just never going to be comfortable deep throating, and she doesn't really like giving blowjobs, but she's definitely never going to be comfortable deep throating for whatever reason. She choked on a snap pea when she was a kid, whatever it was, then she's not going to. And you can't force somebody, even in a relationship, you can't force them to do something that they're not comfortable doing. And then but I also don't think that there's anything wrong if you're not compatible and if they're not comfortable sexually and you are, with just saying, all right, well, this just doesn't work, you know? So, and then Lamore said, true, simple, you have to feel comfortable with your partner. Yeah, I mean, I think that really is what it is. There's a lot of debate, it seems, between the salty thing. Is it like sweet or sour kind of a thing? I forget how many different, taste buds there are. Maybe he has a taste bud issue. I don't know. I don't know what the issue would be. But I think that if it's really important, I know for me, if that's not going to happen, it's kind of going to be a deal breaker, and that's okay. I don't think that there's any reason to feel bad about that. And I'd rather that be a deal breaker than that I kept trying to force somebody to do something that they were so incredibly uncomfortable with, because that's not fun. I mean, it's kind of hard to get off on a guy going down on you if he's just miserable the whole time, because you're going to know, right? Yeah, so that's not going to be good. So, why don't I tackle while we're here? Somebody said, it was a pretty simple question. They said, how can I keep from gagging when I give a guy a blowjob? And this is seriously the best trick that I have ever learned in my life. You take your hand like this. I swear to God, this sounds so weird, but listen, it's going to work. You take your hand like this. You put your thumb inside of towards your palm, and then you make a fist, and you hold it. Well, Jean says relax your throat. Well, this is how you do it. I know it's bizarre. I'm not a doctor, and so I don't know why this does this, but if you squeeze your fist and then you try to deep throat him, your gag reflex is like gone, and you're totally able to relax your throat. And then it's sort of like, I don't know, it's interesting. It kind of becomes natural after that. So I know for me, like if it's ever getting hard, I'll just like squeeze my hand. I mean, sometimes I don't even put my thumb inside, but you squeeze it like that. I mean, and it's kind of exciting for him, right? Because you're like getting into it and you're just like so into it that you're making a fist, right? So then it makes it that much easier. You're crazy. I am crazy. I'm totally crazy. It's fun. It's fun to be crazy sometimes. Okay, so let's see what the next questions are. I'm heavier than my husband, and I find it quite awkward to be on top of him during sex, but he loves it and prefers to have sex where I'm on top. Is there anything I can do to make being on top easier and more enjoyable for me? So, I guess that goes to a few different questions. One, because the person who submitted this, and thank you, because this is a very sensitive, honest question, wasn't really specific, though, about whether or not she feels physically uncomfortable. Like, does she feel like she's going to fall off, or she's not sitting right, or it doesn't feel as good for her, or is she feeling like self-conscious about her body when she's on top? And so that, those are two different issues, right? So for me, I think that if you're having trouble with the way you think that you look when you're in any position, whether it's on top or on your back or, whatever it might be, that your legs up in the air, I don't know, like whatever he likes, take some pictures of yourself without him around. I'm totally dead serious. Take some pictures of yourself without him around, and then take a look at the pictures of yourself. I mean, not necessarily to get off or anything like that, but just look and see, and you'll see that you're probably incredibly hot. No matter what size you are, it doesn't matter. You have a beautiful female body. It's curvy and you've got boobs, or you don't, and the guy who's with you is with you in bed because he wants to be with you in bed. I mean, there's tons of guys out there and tons of women out there. And, and Jean said, a heavy female feels self-conscious, and Penny said, very true, Jean. It could be and it could not be, right? Like, plenty of thin women feel self-conscious too. I think plenty of people in general, I think men do, women do. We have so much that we get like stuck in our head that makes sex suck, because you're not actually interacting with the person you're with. You're like interacting with your thoughts in your head. And that's where I actually think also, like watching porn and like taking a look at what's out there. Like if you just log on to Pornhub or whatever and just take a look at what's out there on the main screen and kind of flip through categories, there are so many different shapes and sizes all across the board on that site. I mean, that was amazing to me when I figured that out, just a few years ago, after getting divorced and I'll tell you, I was trying to figure out if I wanted to get fake boobs. And so I thought I would see what fake boobs looked like in porn. And then I realized I don't know which of them some of them are really obvious, but I don't even know which of them are fake or not fake. So it wasn't all that helpful. But I did see, oh, this is Ella. If anybody wants to say hi, this is Ella. She says hi. She's really cute. But I did see that there were just so many different bodies. And, then you're in different positions. And all guys are really, looking at is like the good spots, right? Like they're looking at the parts that they want to look at. And I think then it really helps you to then look at your body and go, wow, like, yeah, like in this whole spectrum, like I'm really hot too. And like this way and this about me and that about me. And you start to learn where you feel most comfortable. Ella says hi to everybody who's saying hi to her. She's so good. And she gets really jealous when I'm talking to anybody. And then I was going to say the other thing is that, so okay, that's the part of the equation if it's about the way that, she feels about how she looks. Now, it also could be that if you're just not physically comfortable for whatever reason, like it puts strain on your body in that position, or you're worried that, I've known guys who were worried that in that position, because like cowgirl, I think is the most common position to actually break a penis in. So some guys I know get worried about that when she gets too excited. So, maybe she's uncomfortable about that, or she's uncomfortable controlling things. I think that's where, again, like we're just going back to the communication, and for her to be able to say, I need to lean this way, I need to lean that way. There are all those different wedges and pillows, and, you can go to a yoga store and act like you're getting them for yoga or whatever if you're not comfortable. Although I always feel like, if you go into a sex shop, like there's nobody who's in the sex shop for anything other than buying sex toys or products to help them with sex. So it's really like the best place to go, right? Because they know what they're talking about and they can help, specifically with those kinds of issues. So you don't have to do that kind of like, trying a new yoga class. So I need to know what kind of a wedge I can say. Yeah, so I would say go find a really great place near you and tell them what part of you doesn't feel comfortable. So Jamie says, why are some people afraid to love in a relationship? And, it's just like anything else. I think that's, it's so unique to that individual person. So many of us are hurt when we're kids, either physically, emotionally, whatever it might be. And so we're worried about that happening, or maybe it happens later when you're in your teens. Some people get to a point in their life where they've been alone for so long, they don't really know what it's like. But I think overall, the big fear is being hurt. Nobody likes to feel the pain that they feel after a breakup. Ella's done with you, by the way. She might be back later. So nobody likes to feel that. Who likes to feel that, right? It's scary. And most of us don't anymore marry that first person who we fall in love with. That day and age is sort of past. I mean, some of us are lucky and they still do, but most people don't. So by the time anybody's at the age where they're dating and they're looking for that kind of lifetime commitment, if that's what they're looking for, they've probably been hurt pretty bad. So I think it's kind of natural. And I'm gonna go back to the same thing again. It sounds like a really strange connection, but it's just like being with a guy who's never gonna eat you out no matter what you do. He's never going to eat you out. He's never going to fall in love with you because he's just never going to be comfortable, and you can't force that to happen. So I think it's just about keeping that dialogue going. Thomas asked, why do some people cheat? You know, there are so many reasons. I was a mediator for 7 years. I didn't say that at the beginning. And just again, you know, if anybody's just joining in, I'm Arianna Jeret. I'm one of the editors at YourTango. And we're talking about love and sex and kink and any questions anybody has about any of that. So, you know, it was really interesting having met with all of these couples who were going through their divorces. First of all, cheating was not as common an issue as I had expected it to be. But I'll say it was never purely about this other person. Like, it was never a couple where both partners were madly in love with each other. And then this incredibly hot man or woman walked by. Jamie said, thank you for answering. You're welcome. But it was never that. There's never, ever, ever, in my experience as a mediator in 7 years, there was never a couple who was in love with each other, but then that one who was just so seductive or so hot or so sexual or so aggressive suddenly showed up, and the husband just had to cheat. You know, that hussy just made him do it. You know, it was typically the couple had grown apart over the years. Almost every couple I saw had been sleeping in separate bedrooms for at least a year or two. So there was no sex happening. And again, that goes to one of the reasons why I think that sexual compatibility is so incredibly important in relationships, because if you don't have that and you don't keep that going in your marriage, I'm not saying that some people don't stay married and make it through that, but you're making your chances so much more slim, because it's a basic human need. And if you can't fulfill it for each other, I mean, to me, like, that's the whole distinction between a romantic relationship and a friendship, right? I mean, this is the one person, if you're in a monogamous relationship, this should be the one person for the rest of your life, if you've gotten married, that you're ever going to have sex with. And that and maybe, you know, having kids are the determining, the distinctions between that relationship and all others that you have. So you're going to have other friendships. You're going to have other people that you can talk to about, you know, this one issue that triggers him or her. You know, you're going to have other people that you can have dinner with, or that you can go see movies with, or sports with, or do whatever you're going to do with. But if you want to have a monogamous, committed relationship for the rest of your lives, then you better be able to still have sex and want to have sex with that other person. And so I think that really, you know, it's the need for sexual contact. It's the need for the feeling of being desired. It's the need to feel, you know, for men that they're, you know, gratifying a woman, and for women to feel that they're, you know, being, you know, wanted and sought after that way. And so people go out seeking those things when they don't get that within their marriage. So I would say that is a big kicker for the cheating. Somebody asked, which is a good, best enjoyment position, doggy style or up down? And I'm not really sure what up down is, because we have a lot of articles on sex positions and I don't specifically know what you mean. But I don't think that there's any one best position. You know, if that again goes to the same thing. Like, that's something that you guys kind of figure out together what works. And I kind of feel like the best sex position is not having a favorite sex position, because that's another thing that happens a lot, you know, in those marriages. Is like, I've talked to people too who, like, it becomes, you know, you have this sort of like, it's not a playbook, but it's like your, you know, it's like your, do you call it a play? I'm not really a sports person, but, like, you know, you have your, like, playbook when you're a football coach, and, like, you would know you're going to, like, move this X to this O, and then you're going to go across the board, and then you're going to come around and you're going to go up through there. right? And every single time you're going to take that same route. And in a lot of marriages, I think that's what happens is it's like, okay, let's go to this spot and then this spot and then this spot and then this spot. So we're going to do doggy style for 5 minutes, and then we'll do 69 for 3, and then we're going to switch to missionary for the big finish. That's like kind of boring, right? So it's like people still do it because at least then you get to have an orgasm and it's over. But so that's what that's my new favorite. My new favorite sex position is no favorite sex position. So I'm going to say that. David says, having an affair with a married lady and she says she loves me, can it really be? Well, I mean, yeah, for sure it can really be, that you can be, she can love you, and who knows if she really loves her husband anymore or not. I mean, that was another thing I found in doing so many divorce cases is that I actually think that the number one cause of divorce is that at least one person didn't love the other person really, in that kind of romantic love way when they first got married. And if you talk to them after their divorce and you ask them, when did you have a sense that you would probably get divorced? They'll usually say either before they got married or before they even got engaged, that they knew that. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a chance, David, that she really loves you. I would also say that the odds are not in your favor that she's going to be with you in the long run, because usually, divorce is a big, big deal. And it's hard. And even once you make the decision to get a divorce, you're looking, I don't know where you are, David, but in California right now, the average amount of time people spend in court for a divorce is 3 years. That's a really long time to try to hold up your kind of side relationship while she's going through that. And most people don't make it. So maybe you will, and I don't, judge what you're doing. I mean, that's up to you guys, and I don't know your situation. But I will say that even if she loves you, that the chances are not good that it'll work out long term. So that's something to think about. Leander said, oh, okay, my God, you talk too much. But see, that's why I'm here. I'm here to talk. So let's see. Somebody had asked a question. Well, Clarissa had said, sounds like a lot of work. And I think that was about all the different sex positions maybe. But it should be fun, right? So, and if you just like missionary and out, then that's, cool too. I don't have any issue with what you want to do. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so here's another question. I broke up with my girlfriend 2 years ago, and I just let it go, but ever since we broke up, I really hate being in a relationship, but sometimes I feel so lonely. Yeah, it's hard to be alone, and it's also hard to be on the rebound, and you want to be with that one person, and, it's not ever anybody's choice, I think, to turn the other person, this like new person into your rebound person, because it sucks to be the one who's not on the rebound and ends up being someone's rebound. And, going back to that question about why are people scared to fall in love? That's one of the reasons why, like, you just never necessarily know where things are going to go. But I feel like you just need to, take your chances and see what happens, and always, just make sure that you're honest with somebody, who you're seeing during that time, and to make sure that they know, I'm still healing from, the last person. I don't know where I am, and I don't really feel like being in a relationship, and I just want to be spending time with people. But, humans are social animals, right? So of course you want to be with somebody. I think it's just really, really important to make sure that whoever you're with knows that that's, the case and what's going on. And Candy says, and it's kind of similar, just got out of a 12-year relationship, and it seems like dating has changed a lot, and I'm scared. Then sex with someone new is scary too. How do you get past the fears, and what's up with all these, new apps? There are so many apps, right? And they just keep coming out all the time. There's a new one out right now that I think sounds like some kind of new, I'm not going to talk about the FBI right now because of what's going on, but it's like some kind of new government torture or something where it's called a slow dating app, and you can't see the person's picture until you've messaged with them 50 times. So you have to have sent them a message and they have to like it, and vice versa 50 times before you can actually see their face. Ella is not happy right now that there's another dog outside. Sorry. So, and it's kind of like a puzzle, and like each piece of the puzzle is like taken away every time you like one of their messages. And I feel like that's just a setup for somebody to be totally destroyed self-esteem wise, because you know, you've been talking for that long and then somebody sees your picture and they're like, oh, goodbye, that's not going to be good. But anyway, that's not your question. You know, I think the key, it's like the, you know, what I was saying before about the sex, is to just look at all of it like it's going to be a story to tell your friends no matter what. You know, it's going to be something new that you learned, and it's a chance to go out there again and feel like you're young, but knowing so much more than you knew when you were young, you know, and hopefully having some more strength, you know, even if you've been through, you know, some heartbreak, but you're older and you survived all that, right? You know, I mean, there's that one meme that's around all the time that says, you know, remember that person you thought you couldn't live without, look at you living in shit, something like that. You know, it's kind of one of those cheesy things that's just really true. You know, there you are, you're living and you're dating and you're going out. And to just look at that as, you know, you can see what kind of people you're going to meet. And, you know, and I got to do that when I got divorced and I started dating, and I met so many different kinds of men. And it was like just bizarro, you know, people I never would have met in other stages of my life. And even if it was a miserable experience, it made for something like really funny to tell people about if you look at it the right way. Like if you kind of just can step outside of yourself and not, you know, not be vested that each relation, you know, each date is going to end in a relationship, but like each date is just a chance to go out and learn something new, right? And then kind of like tape record it in your own head to like look at and like, what did you learn about yourself and what did you learn about these people? And like kind of, you know, people are just really fascinating if you just kind of step outside of it and watch them. So that's how, you know, it kind of worked for me. And then I think with the apps too, it's like, I mean, I don't know, sometimes I've it kind of sounds bad, but like I've almost thought of them like another version of Candy Crush on my phone, right? It's like, especially with like the swiping and stuff, you know, like not that I think of other people as a game, but like it's just an interesting way. And, you know, certain sites have like quizzes and stuff that are fun to take, and it's a chance to learn about who you are and who you like, and take some chances with the kinds of people, like maybe try dating the opposite of your type a few times and see if that works. And if it doesn't work, then, you know, you're really gonna stay with your type. And the other thing that I think is really, really, well, there are two things I think are really, really important. I think the first thing is that you have to just be yourself. You know, you have to put pictures up that look like you and that express who you are, because otherwise you're actually keeping the guys who are going to like you, or the women who are going to like you, from finding you. And that really sucks for both of you. So I would say that part. And then the other thing is, I am a strong believer in the hell yes or fuck no way of going through those dating apps. Because if you're kind of like thinking maybe, there are going to be so many people you could swipe on who are maybe, and you're just going to make yourself and them miserable. I think that that's where so many, you know, so many people complain about like how they just sit there with these, you know, inboxes of matches and everybody is silent. And I really think that that's why. I think because people are doing the, you know, okay, maybe, I'll just swipe right, maybe. And then they all just pile up. And then you don't, again, you keep the person who you're going to like from finding you. So I hope that helps. And I hope you can have fun with it. Oh, Wade said yes. Hi. Leander said, show us a good position. Did I already give you an avocado? It's an avocado again for you. April said, I have an ex and we are friends, but he wants to be a couple again, but I don't. And he gets upset when I told him I don't want one with him or any other guy. I need this time on my own to find myself. Sorry. I just got out of a very abusive relationship a year and a half ago, and I don't want anyone. How can I get this through to him? And Daniel said I'm a fraud, but I'm really not. Let's see. You know, April, I would just say you need to take care of yourself. And I think that one of the, key factors in getting involved in an abusive relationship or codependent relationship of any kind is when you have that kind of a really loving, caring personality where you want to take care of everybody else. And you don't necessarily think about what's the best thing for you. And I say that as somebody with that tendency myself and who's been in abusive relationships myself. And I know how hard it is anyway, because you really don't want to hurt anybody's feelings and you don't want anybody mad at you. And I don't know, you could even be scared of, hopefully you're not scared of him, but sometimes that's the case too. But nobody can make you be in a relationship. And ultimately, if he's not hearing you, you also don't have to stay friends with him, and you can just stop talking to him and, stop responding. I'm not a big fan myself of blocking people because I feel like it doesn't actually help anything. All that happens when you block somebody is that you can't see them anymore, but they can still find you, in other social media and other different, ways, and you just don't know what they're up to anymore. So I'm not really a big fan of the blocking thing, but that doesn't mean that you have to ever respond to them again, and so I would say if that's somebody, he's not respecting your boundaries, and that's one of the major red flags of an abusive relationship, then that's somebody right there to protect yourself from. And something that you can focus on while you're taking this time to heal is also take that time to start setting those boundaries and really, sticking with them. So I know that's really, really hard, and I wish you a lot of luck with it. But I would just be really, really firm, because you don't need to be with anybody that you don't want to be with. Let's see. Oh, Daniel went away. I don't even know what he was saying. I don't really care. And let's see. Okay, so I'm going to take one more of the anonymous questions, and then we will probably wrap it up. So let me see. Okay. I find myself increasingly desiring an S&M relationship in which I'm the submissive. I've been reading a lot. Sorry, I switched over. I've been reading a lot about it and talked to my friends, and they said that as a strong woman, I should not allow myself to be submissive and that it's not feminist. I really want to try this, but I have no idea what it's like. Does it make me wrong for wanting something like this? Why do you think I think it sounds so hot? And should I even go down this road? So, yeah, I think that one of the biggest misperceptions people have of BDSM in general is that they think of it as this, if they think of it as always being the male as the dominant, which it isn't always, but you sort of think of the male dominant and the female submissive, and you think of it in terms of, really, you think of it in terms of abuse, which, you think of it in terms of the man just doing whatever he wants and the woman not being respected, and that submissive means just, that there's no reason to take her into account. And the truth is that in a lot of ways, the submissive in a relationship has more control over things than the dominant does. Because the dominant really needs, if you're talking about a man who's truly a dominant, and not just an abusive asshole who's using the label BDSM as a way to be able to beat up chicks, right? Because that's a big distinction to make sure you're aware of when you're meeting guys, if you're interested in this. a true dominant has to have absolute respect for his submissive, male or female. I'm saying he and she, but either way. And he needs to earn her submission. You know, a woman who's a true submissive isn't submitting to just anybody. You know, she's submitting to her dominant because she respects him and because they have open communication and they're in dialogue and she trusts him. And so he has to earn that and he has to keep that. And if he loses her trust, it's done. He has nothing to dominate there anymore because she'll go bye-bye. You know, so it's actually it's a really strong position to be in, you know, if both parties are really open and being authentic and honest about it. So, and there's nothing to me, when I think about feminism, I think about, you know, the liberal feminism of the 70s, 80s, you know, and it's really about anybody being whatever they feel like being, right? I grew up with free to be you and me. And if, you know, a woman wants to be a fireman, she can. And if a boy wants to be a nurse, he can. And if a girl wants to be a ballet dancer, she can. And if a boy wants to be a baseball player, he can, right? It's not about just kind of like getting rid of any of that stuff. It's just making the boundaries more free for people to be who they are. And so being a woman who's strong enough to say, hey, I know what I want. And what I want is to be submissive to my dominant. Then how is that not feminist to me? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me because you're making your own choices and doing what you want with who you want. So I would say that's about that. Now, let me just see if there was anything else that was really quick that I can take. Let's see. Talked about that kind of already. Oh, well, okay, so this one's kind of a, you know, a simple one to take off. Oh, okay. So sometimes when I have sex, all this liquid comes out. It makes me super insecure because people think I'm peeing on them. I use the restroom before I have sex, so I don't think it's pee. What is this and how can I make it stop? So that sounds to me like a woman who's having squirting orgasms, which, you know, it's become like the orgasm of the, it's like the new orgasm fad is, you know, to squirt. And I would say, even though it feels weird, kind of like consider yourself lucky because a lot of women want to, or like they have men who are with them who want them to, because it's, you know, it's in the porn now, it's in articles now, you know, I mean, we have tons and tons and tons of articles you can go look up afterwards about women who didn't know that they could squirt, can't stop squirting, have been trying to squirt, why you can never squirt. I mean, it's just all over the place, right? So my understanding based on the research and the reading that I've done is that it's basically an orgasm that comes from your G-spot. And it seems to be, it's really interesting, it seems to be easier and easier for women to do as they get older. So it's typically, you know, like more of a once you're in your 30s at least thing, not that younger women don't or can't. Maybe, you know, because I wonder sometimes if maybe the being older thing is just because you're more comfortable with yourself and more able to relax. And so therefore it happens because you really just have to be relaxed when it's happening. So yeah. And I have, one of my writers, Cooper Beckett, who I work with, he had an article where he said that somebody actually got in touch with him because she was squirting for like 15 minutes and she couldn't make it stop. But I mean, she was still enjoying it. So I don't know. I'll have to ask him and come back next time and tell you how she stopped it. Because I'm curious. I didn't ask him that. But it is the kind of thing that, you know, once you start doing, and I think it's just something like anything else. You know, if you're not comfortable enough with somebody to have a conversation about the kind of orgasms that you have, then it's probably not the time to be having sex with them in the first place, you know? And I don't mean that like your teenage mom. I just mean talk to your friends and, you know, kind of get comfortable with what's going on and, you know, take a look around the site because I can tell you it's not anything at all to be embarrassed about. Totally natural and totally normal, and have fun with it. because it feels good probably when it's happening, right? So anyway, that is going to be the end of our show tonight. That went really fast for me. Penny said, girls enjoy the feeling. That is what I've heard. So thank you guys for tuning in. And if you have any more questions, you can email them. My email's Arianna@YourTango.com, and I can hold on them for next time. And let me know if you want it to be anonymous or not, or if you're planning on being around to listen. That would be great. And then we can talk about it a little bit more. And thanks for playing along. And eat your avocados. Okay, good night.